She ran track, made honor roll, and was on her way to Harvard, but they still called her invisible. Until one boy went too far. By the time her father showed up at that school, nobody laughed again, especially not the principal. It started with a look, not from a bully or a hater, but from Mr. Klein, her AP literature teacher. During roll call, his voice stalled over her name, like the sound got caught on a nail. He stared just a beat too long, long enough to make her ears burn. Then he said it. "Oh, you're that McCullough." She blinked. That McCullough. Her hand rose slowly. "Yes, sir," she said. Mr. Klein nodded, but his eyes dropped to the desk like he'd just seen a ghost walk into his classroom. Amara McCullough, 17, volleyball captain, varsity track sprinter, valedictorian, full Harvard scholarship. She'd never missed a deadline, never skipped a class, never broken dress code. But she might as well have worn camouflage to school, because no one seemed to see her. Teachers raved about her. They called her gifted, focused, mature beyond her years. But students, barely a glance. When she gave the correct answers, they'd nod politely but never invite her to study. When she nailed presentations, they clapped out of obligation. No lunch invites, no texts, just hallway shadows and eye rolls if she spoke too long. Then came Chase Holloway, the class clown with football muscles and TikTok fans. He wasn't particularly bright, but he was loud. He sat behind Amara in chemistry and had made her his personal shortcut. During tests, he leaned over her shoulder with the subtlety of a foghorn. And when he copied her answers and got a better grade, he laughed with his boys and said, "Guess genius runs in the family. Too bad it ain't hers." That day, he leaned in again during a quiz, reaching toward her desk. Amara turned, locked eyes with him, and didn't say a word. Just gave him a look, quiet, piercing, like glass-cutting fog. For the first time in their history, Chase leaned back without a snide remark. He just blinked like he didn't understand why he suddenly felt cold. During lunch, Amara went to the library as usual. But taped to the inside of her favorite copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God was a small yellow post-it. "Keep your crown. Not everyone can see it." Ms. Rowland, the librarian, the only adult who ever called her Queen A and meant it. She smiled. As she tucked the note into her pocket, she passed a group of juniors loitering by the mural wall. One boy laughed, then shouted, "Yo, Little Mac." Amara froze. Her dad used to be called Mac when he went to this school. Nobody her age should have known that. Her stomach tightened. After last period, she opened her locker to grab her duffel for track. A waft of spray paint hit her face before the words hit her eyes. "Nobody's daughter," scrawled across the metal in red. Underneath, someone had drawn a donkey with braids. She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. She pulled out her phone, snapped a picture, and texted her dad. "Hey, I think it's time." The message sent. Nothing more. In the hallway, a uniformed police officer was walking a campus check. As he passed Amara, he gave a short nod, like he recognized her. Like they'd met before. She didn't recognize him, but something about that nod made her stand straighter. Later, while flipping through an old yearbook in the library archives, trying to forget everything, she paused on a page from 1998. There he was, her dad, Malcolm McCullough, homecoming king, state track champion, debate team leader, top GPA, full scholarship to Stanford. Beneath his photo, "Don't start a war if you can't handle peace." Chase had never known that. Apparently, neither did most of the teachers. But Miss Rowland? She smiled when she saw Amara holding the book. "Your dad nearly ran this school. Folks just forgot." Not everyone. In physics class the next day, Mr. Pollard, the most feared teacher on campus, stopped mid-lecture and called Chase to the front. "Holloway," he said, "you're walking a tight rope." Then he pointed to Amara. "And that young lady you've been bothering. She's the reason this school still has a trophy case." Chase turned red. Amara blinked, confused. How would Mr. Pollard even know? By sixth period, the whispers had started, students leaning into each other, eyes darting. "She's Mac's kid? No way. That's her dad? I heard he trained at Langley, like government stuff." Chase tried to brush it off until he snapped, caught yelling and shoving a freshman against a locker. The AP caught him mid-action. Principal Denner dragged him away by the collar. He didn't come back that week. On Friday, the gym lights were dimmed for senior assembly rehearsal. Amara stood at the edge of the bleachers waiting for her cue when someone whispered, "Is that her dad's car?" She turned. Through the gym's high windows, a midnight black Lincoln pulled into the school parking lot. The doors didn't open. Not yet. But suddenly, everyone was watching her. And for the first time all year, they saw her. The week after the vandalism, Amara felt like the world had turned its head toward her, but only to squint harder. During first period, Mrs. Shields, her civics teacher, pulled her aside with a tight smile. "I think you should tone it down a bit," she said. "There's a lot of tension lately. Don't bring too much attention to yourself." It stung more than anything Chase had said. Mrs. Shields had once praised her essay as college-level brilliance. Now she sounded like she was afraid of her. Amara didn't respond. She just nodded once and walked to her desk. That silence? That was her father's teaching. "You don't always have to bark to own the yard," he told her once. "When your truth walks in, lies leave quietly." She held on to that. But outside of her calm, the chaos swelled. In the cafeteria, Chase's dad stormed into the office. Students whispered about it for hours. He was screaming in the admin hallway, demanding his son not be targeted for personal vendettas. No one could confirm if Amara's name was brought up, but everybody assumed. At track practice, while Amara laced her spikes, she overheard a freshman arguing with Chase near the bleachers. Then, a shove, loud enough to stop practice. Coaches ran. Phones went up. Chase walked away like nothing happened, but the freshman was shaking. The principal wasn't in his office the next morning. Later that week, in third period, as Amara gathered her books, a quiet voice startled her. "Hey, you good?" It was Mila, a girl from her history class who'd never said more than 5 words to her. Amara blinked. Yeah, why?" Mila hesitated, then said loudly enough for others to hear, "If Chase comes near you again, I'll swing first. Just say the word." The class went silent. Chase, across the room, didn't even lift his head. Mila sat back down, popped her gum, and opened her textbook like she hadn't just changed Amara's life. That night, Amara sat at her desk and rewrote her valedictorian speech. The one she'd planned was full of generic lines about excellence, leadership, and hard work. But now, she didn't want applause. She wanted truth. To every invisible girl who made the honor roll and got laughed at. To every name they forgot to call during awards but remembered to mock in the hallway. You're not nobody. You're legacy. You're the reason the future will remember our names. She rehearsed it 3 times, her voice shaking only on the last line. The next morning, she entered school expecting more stares. But what greeted her was different. An online flyer had gone viral overnight. Students had posted a screenshot from TikTok, an old photo of her dad in front of the school, mid-sprint at a track meet. Below it, a caption, "Mac's daughter. Respect her name." It had over 40,000 likes by first period. She couldn't trace who made it, but she didn't need to. By third period, a senior named Jordan, who used to ignore her in chem, was calling her Mac Jr. in the hallway, with respect, not sarcasm. During lunch, the senior class held a private vote, and Amara was nominated as class president, just like her father had been. Still, not everyone was clapping. That afternoon, her father showed up on campus. He didn't come inside, just stood by the gate, suit sharp, arms folded, sunglasses reflecting the quad. And Principal Denner walked out to meet him. No handshake, just a long, quiet talk. Students lined the windows. No one could hear what was said, but one rumor swept fast. They talked about Chase, and it wasn't friendly. That evening, during track practice, Amara broke down for the first time. She ran her 200-meter sprint, crossed the finish line, and instead of slowing down, she kept running into the storage hallway behind the gym. Her dad found her sitting on a pile of folded bleachers, legs trembling, arms wrapped tight around her knees. "I don't want to be her anymore," she said. "Who? The strong one? The silent one? The one who just takes it?" Her father crouched down beside her, eyes soft. "You're not here to take it," he said. "You're here to teach them what it means to rise through it." Then he reached into his pocket and handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter, aged and creased, written to him from his own father, the day he became class president. "Make them remember you for how you lead, not how they tried to stop you." He folded her hand around it. The next morning, the school was buzzing again. Chase had been pulled from school. His father didn't want him humiliated further. No apology, no statement, just gone. As Amara walked into the building, students stepped aside. Teachers nodded. And at the hallway corner by the gym, a sign had been hung overnight. Senior Awards. Friday. Keynote, Amara McCullough. She stared at it. Long and hard. Behind her, someone whispered, "You ready to be seen?" Amara didn't answer. She just kept walking, toward the stage. The auditorium was packed tighter than it had ever been. Not just students and teachers, but board members, alumni, and even local news crews. All eyes were forward. But Amara's eyes were on a man seated quietly in the back row, Chase's father, arms crossed, eyes defiant. In the front row sat Principal Denner and the entire school board, backs stiff like they were bracing for a storm. Amara stood just off stage, her speech gripped in both hands. She wasn't shaking, not anymore. Her father's words were etched into her bones now. They can't bury what's already rooted. Her name was called. She stepped into the light. The applause was polite at first, then grew louder, then stopped altogether when she placed her papers down on the podium and didn't read from them. She looked at the crowd, and she spoke. "I came here to be excellent. I came here to be seen. I earned my stripes the hard way, through silence, through sweat, and through disrespect. But I never asked for your praise. I asked for your eyes." A ripple moved through the crowd. "I've been called invisible, unremarkable, even a charity case. But the only thing charitable is that I'm still standing here and not calling each of you by name." A quiet gasp. The principal shifted. "This school let me become a target. But it also taught me how to stand tall. I used to think legacy was about trophies and plaques, but it's not. It's about moments. Like this one." Amara paused, then turned to the wings. "Dad." From the shadows stepped Malcolm McCullough. The room fell dead silent. He walked across the stage in a crisp navy suit and placed one hand on his daughter's shoulder. Then he handed her something. A digital recorder. She pressed play. A short voice memo played through the speakers. To the students and teachers who dismissed my daughter, thank you. You reminded her that being overlooked is just camouflage for greatness. Then she raised her eyes. This was never about revenge. It was about being remembered. And after today, you won't forget my name. The crowd erupted. Standing ovation. Even teachers were crying. Some students chanted, "Amara, Amara." Chase's friends shrunk into their seats. The principal looked like he'd swallowed glass. As the clapping died down, Principal Denner returned to the mic with a stilted smile. We are proud to announce the creation of the Amara McCullough Scholarship for Resilience, in honor of strength, of legacy, and of students who lead with grace. Her father stepped back up and wrapped her in a proud, silent hug. As they turned to leave the stage, a voice called out. It was Mila, standing in the aisle. This school didn't deserve her, but we're better because she stayed. And with that, other students stood, one by one. By the time Amara stepped down, the entire senior class was on their feet. Later that week, in the school trophy case, her speech was framed next to her father's track medal. At the bottom, "They finally saw me." She returned to that case one last time before graduation, pulled out a folded piece of notebook paper and slipped it behind the glass. It read, "To the next invisible girl, don't wait to be noticed. Make them stare." Outside, her dad waited by the car. "You ready?" he asked. Amara looked back at the building one last time, then smiled. "Yeah, let's go show the world who I am."